Hi, my name is Ken Biddington. You can call me the French Englishman. Now why is that? Well, my surname is very English, but my first language is actually French. English is my second language. And for those of you who speak French, bonjour et bienvenue. I'll be speaking on brain-based education for the adult learner. Now I think it's safe to say that the adult learner needs to be engaged in order to learn. The same thing goes for children, of course. But sometimes the adult learner is preoccupied by the responsibilities of life, and he has a hard time to learn. You might have seen that in your own classes. Now I think it's very important for us to understand that. And also it's very important for us to create an ambiance of joy in our classroom so that they can learn better. I don't know about you, but I find it very curious that most undergrad degree, bachelor's degree in education, they don't talk too much about how the brain functions. You might have a course or two on psychology, but I think it's very important for us teachers to understand how motivation works and how memory works and how different things can affect the brain, like exercise and food and rest. It's very, very important for us. Because when we are teaching, when our students are learning, there's actually changes going on inside their brains. Neural pathways are being created. Now to illustrate that, recently I've been studying on how a highway in Canada was built and how it started. Now I look back at the beginning when it started and you look at it now and there's a big change. Now the highway is the 401 near Toronto, Canada. It started back in the 1920s with a 2-lane dirt road. And today, in some areas, it's actually 16 lanes wide. It's one of the busiest highways in the world. In some areas, 500,000 cars go by each day. Now, why did it go from a 2-lane dirt road to a 16-lane highway? Well, I think it's pretty obvious, huh? More cars, more people using that road. So more people using the road, then they would build even wider and wider and wider. Now keep that in mind, because the same thing is happening to our brain. When we are using a specific area in our brain over and over, there are actually roads, neural pathways being built. One would say what fires together wires together. I would even say, instead of saying practice make perfect, we can say practice makes permanent. More we practice something, there's actually something changing inside our brain, physically changing inside our brain. I'm going to give you a little example here, an illustration, to try and make us understand. I'm a musician. I've been playing guitar for over 30 years, and I'm right-handed. You give me a right-handed guitar and I can play no problem. My fingers almost go together and I can sing. I have no difficulty playing guitar, a right-handed guitar. But give me a left-handed guitar the other way. Even though I know all the notes and I know how to play guitar here, my fingers can't play it. And why is that? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I haven't practiced enough. I haven't practiced to play a left-handed guitar. So what's our takeaway in that? It's very important for us teachers to give enough time to our students to put into practice what they have learned in order for it to be safely lodged, so to be placed clearly in their mind, so it becomes automatic. And I don't know for you, but sometimes we are pressed, there's a deadline and we have to finish the course very quickly. And we push, but we have to be careful. We have to give enough time to our learners to acquire what they have learned very solidly. Give them enough time to practice. I think that's very, very important. Now, if we don't give enough time to our students to learn something, their stress level might go up. Now that brings me to my next point. Emotions play a role on learning. Now, if there's stress, they won't learn as well. if they're anxious, or if they worry about something, they won't learn as much. The same thing goes for joy and contentment. If our students are happy, they'll learn better, right? Now my question is this: can we as teachers add something that will actually make them better learners? And can we eliminate things and that will help them to learn better? Of course. There's some things I have control over, some things I don't have control over. For instance, I can't learn for them. I can only teach them. They're responsible to learn. But let's say we put a little music when they walk in the classroom. Nice music in the background. I added something that actually will reduce their stress and they'll be able to learn better. I can maybe adjust the temperature, make sure it's not too hot, or make sure it's not too cold. All those things I have control over. I can even eliminate certain things. For instance, if there's a lot of noise, I can shut the door, or I can do certain things that I have control over that will help them to learn. So I can add things and I can eliminate things. I can also do things or add things that will actually bring also some joy. Now, I can't give them joy, but I can do things that maybe will help them be happier. For instance, let's say you walk in the classroom and it's a bit dull. Like you see there's something, just people are not motivated. Well, sometimes I would say a little joke. I don't have too many jokes in my repertoire, but I would say a joke and I would tell them, even though it's not funny, can you please laugh? But that helps. It wakes them up, right? So I can say a joke, use humor. That's very important because that will actually do something inside their brains that will help them to learn. There are also things that I can eliminate. For instance, I can reduce stress in them by clearly stating what we are doing today. That will actually reduce stress inside their mind and it'll help them to learn. Brain-based education is all about eliminating certain barriers and allowing the mind to work without distraction. We know that learning is very natural, and some even say that even a child in the womb is actually starting to learn already. So we don't have to teach someone to learn. It's natural for us. Now, studies show that traditional lecture environment is less effective than immersion in a subject. The goal is to make the lesson memorable, so the factual elements stick as well. Now, I'd like to highlight the last portion I just said, stick as well. Now, prior to my teaching career, I was a manager for a large industrial supplier, and I sold a lot of 3M products. And 3M makes all types of glues for all types of application. Some glues stick very, very well. Some glues don't stick almost at all. For instance, the glue that is used on your Post-it stickers. I mean, you can glue it and you can post it and take it away and put it back and take it away. It doesn't leave any residue. Now, my question is this: how can we make our lessons, when we teach, stick in the mind of our learners? That's a very good question. I believe that when there's good emotions associated to what we are learning, it sticks better. So like we just mentioned, there are things that we can do to eliminate, for instance, bad emotions, bad attitudes, and there's things that we can do that will help create a better ambiance, for instance, and that will help the learner. And by creating a rich learning environment, teachers have the ability to address their students' emotional and social needs as well as their minds. When teachers understand this concept, it helps them to keep diverse learners engaged, create a richer learning environment, and also it offers valuable feedback that can lead to a deeper understanding. Now, this is your takeaway. If you have something that you can take notes, I'd like you to ask yourself this question. What will you do next week to help your students learn? For instance, what will you add in your classroom, or what you might eliminate, things you have control over that you'll do to help your students learn? things that you'll also do that will add a positive emotion in your learner, and things that we will do that might eliminate certain negative emotions in your students. So what will you do? Be very specific to what will you do next week in your classroom. Now, I would like to end with two quotes that I found very interesting. The first one is, if the human brain were so simple that we could understand it, we would be so simple that we couldn't. Interesting. That's by Emerson and Pew. The last one is, the human brain starts working the moment you are born and never stops until you stand up to speak in public. George Jessel. Thank you.